SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Engineering, Medical and Health Sciences, Management, Dental, Science and Humanities, Law, Agriculture Sciences, Hotel Management. Admissions open.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. SRM Institute of Science and Technology presents the Hindu EducationPlus Career Counseling webinar series. Today, we will be discussing the challenges facing the humanities and social sciences in a changing academic environment. I'm Radhika Santanam, Assistant Editor with The Hindu, and I will be moderating the panel today. Each speaker today will speak for about 15 minutes, and we will then open the floor to questions. I will start by introducing the distinguished speakers that we have today. First, we have Dr. P. Doraisamy, former Vice Chancellor of the University of Madras. Dr. Doraisamy has served on various national level bodies, such as the UGC and the NAAC. He was visiting professor at the University of Paris I and a senior visiting fellow at Yale University, as well as a consultant to the World Bank and the Population Council, New York. His areas of expertise are economics of education, especially higher education. Thank you, sir, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Next, we have Dr. Sridhar Krishnaswamy, Deputy Dean of the Faculty of Science and Humanities, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, and Professor in the Department of Journalism and Mass Communications. Dr. Krishnaswamy is also Special Assistant to the Vice Chancellor of SRM Institute of Science and Technology. Dr. Krishnaswamy, who holds a PhD in political science, has been a journalist for 25 years. For 18 years, he was a foreign correspondent, first with the Hindu in Singapore and then in Washington, and then with the Press Trust of India in Washington. He contributes articles to various dailies and is a regular columnist with the Federal. He sits on the advisory board of the Society for Policy Studies, a New Delhi-based think tank. Thank you, sir, for joining us today. Finally, we have Dr. Matangi Krishnamurti, Assistant Professor of Anthropology at the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, IIT Madras. Her research areas of interest include the anthropology of work, biopolitics, gender and sexuality studies, and urban studies. Her book, 1-800 Worlds, The Making of the Indian Call Center Economy, published by Oxford University Press in 2018, chronicles the labor practices, life worlds, and media atmospheres of Indian call center workers. But before we have the speaker speaking, first we would like to have Dr. Balasubramanian, Pro Vice Chancellor External Affairs, SRM IST, to give the inaugural address.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Radhika. I'm very happy that SRM University, one of the oldest private esteemed universities in India, jointly with another highly reputed and good old newspaper, Hindu, jointly organizing this webinar about the challenges facing today in social sciences. I'm so happy in welcoming all the parents, guardians, and young friends, and particularly the distinguished three panelists who are going to speak about the challenges in social sciences today. SRM University is a multidisciplinary university in India. It has engineering technology, medical sciences, medicine, then science and humanities, management, law, agriculture sciences, and hotel management. And nearly about 60,000 students are enrolled for various courses, and 4,000 to 7,000 graduates are going out every year from various faculties. And our university is accredited A++, the highest rank in NAC, and also MHRD has awarded the A grade status to our SRM University. To say a few words about the Faculty of Science and Humanities, actually this faculty was started only in the year 2003 with 35 students in biotechnology and 3 faculty. Then later it developed with nearly about 5,000 students in Katangalathur campus alone, with 200 faculties, and nearly about 14 departments offering 12 UG courses and 5 PG programs. And today, I think the present day situation is that the prominence, the importance, the need, and the demand of social sciences has emerged large. When you look at the history Since independence, I think we have traveled in a rocky path, and traditionally till 1990, then we were teaching only English literature, which mostly about some poetical aspects and as well as some Shakespearean dramas, little bit of prose. Then other subjects like economics, general economics, commerce, general commerce, philosophy, and public administration, history like that. But later, if you look at the drastic change in social science development, English literature, now they teach about American literature, European literature, African literature, and so on. And look at economics. Suppose this is the prime subject in social sciences. The economic phenomenal growth in the discipline of economics is tremendous. See, micro level, macro level, development economics, international economics, trade and commerce, and so many things are all. Now, without economics, no country can exist. Nobody can, whether it's a private or public or whatever it is. That's so the diversified areas in economics and even in public administration now, they were teaching only about the government. But now governance, public policy, development administration, public management, so on. Then when you look at the other subject like commerce, it is not like general commerce. It is about, about so many branches, near about 20 branches have emerged in commerce. Because this is all an indication that the social science now is focusing on instead of centralizing with one team, now we are focusing a diversified aspect with giving more specialization to students, because students are also now looking for micro level specialization in one subject, so that he can go and settle anywhere wherever he is fitting. So this is even the companies, government organizations, even multinationals, they are all looking. Even for example, accounting, you can see that there are so many accounting branches even in the core subject accounting. So such a vast development. Then when you look into the media studies, previously there was no taker for journalism and mass communication. Now you see, without media, the whole world will not exist. So that is the fact that now it is existing. So I'm so happy that the three panelists, I think Ms. Radhika has given a very beautiful introduction about the panelists. And personally, you know that I know Dr. P. Durasavi, who was my former colleague in Madras University. Then he is an expert in this subject. He is going to talk much about it. Then needless to say about Dr. Madangi, who is heading the good old social science department in IIT, with a very good social science background, anthropology, and Dr. Sridevi Krishnasamy, multifaceted personality, both in academic, journalism, and other things. So all these three people, they are going to give about the challenges facing and the importance and all that. So lastly, I'd like to point out one thing, that the present day students, they are looking for a multifaceted, knowledge, what they wanted to have it, so that they want to get themselves fitting in any place. So I'm so happy that SRM is providing all such facilities, so that here you can even the courses which are not available elsewhere is being provided in SRM, which I think that Sridhar and others will be explaining to him. So I take this opportunity to thank Kindu particularly for this webinar organized for this. Once again, I extend a warm welcome to all the parents and the young students and the panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next, I invite Dr. Duraisamy to address the audience.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to all panelists and participants. I am happy to note that the SRM Institute of Science and Technology, in collaboration with the Hindu EducationPlus, is organizing a series of webinars to offer career guidance to students and parents. In the prevailing education system in our country, the choice has to be made even when students enter into higher secondary levels of education. In the normal circumstances, students and parents invest their time in collecting information by attending educational fairs and discussing with their colleagues and experts. But however, the present circumstance, the COVID-19 pandemic, students are unable to go out of their homes and unable to collect information about their career choice and the opportunities available. So students are very anxious, not only to know that what courses to choose, but also about the results and also about other examinations, entrance examinations. So thanks to the webinar series, students have an opportunity to obtain information by just listening and interacting with academicians and subject experts to make informed choice on the degree program and institutions. I congratulate the organizers for the laudable initiative and taking this to the doorsteps of the students. Personally, I would like to thank my colleague, my former colleague, Professor Balasubramaniam, and we have worked over several decades in the University of Madras, and for giving me an opportunity to be a panelist in this session. And also, I am thankful to the Hindu for this opportunity. I'll spend about 10 to 15 minutes in addressing certain questions which I think important from the students and parents' point of view. So these are, I have listed these. What is humanities and social sciences all about? Professor Balasubramaniam has given an excellent outline of the evolution of the humanities and social sciences. I take it further on that. The next question is, which program subject do I choose under the broad disciplines? So students have this in their mind, that what subject to choose or what discipline to choose. The next question is, will it suitable for me or can I cope with the program? The next one is, can I branch off to other major at the postgraduate or research level? Suppose if I don't like the particular major, can I shift to the other major? Then the last one is, what are the career opportunities? So my talk will be centered around these themes, and I'll be happy to answer the questions later. So let me begin with a brief description of what humanities and social sciences deal with. Humanities and social science is a broad discipline which deals with the problems of the society, human behavior, and decision making by individuals, society, companies, corporates, and governments. This is also known as liberal arts. So we call this liberal arts and science, but science we have not included. Languages are part of humanities, and degree programs are offered in all Indian and foreign languages. Recently, the demand for the foreign languages has been increasing due to globalization and also for the increasing development of the software companies. In fact, in many of the universities, including the Madras University, we are offering diploma, certificate, and other courses in languages like Chinese, Korean, and other Southeast Asian languages. Besides, some foreign languages like French, Spanish, German, and others. Then, up to 90s, we have the traditional subjects like language means English, literature means the course contains only the language and literature, prose, and drama. But now the things have been changed. Even the English literature, we have several specializations like translation, then or and others, like and film studies, cultural studies, among others. Then the other Indian languages we offer only at the postgraduate level. When students with Part 2 language at the undergraduate level can join in the PG program in any of the languages. Then these language courses also offered through distance education as well as through online mode of education. So many universities, including the SRM, can also offer these courses through online and also distance mode. Then comes the branch of social sciences, in which there are a large number of courses are offered. In fact, this is the largest number of undergraduate programs offered than any other discipline in this country. Then the subjects under this social science include the traditional history, political science, economics, psychology, philosophy. Then after 1990s, there are several interdisciplinary programs have been offered with the specializations in the particular disciplines. For example, in the political science, now we have programs on public administration, then public affairs, international studies, international relations, among others. As Professor Balasubramanian has pointed out, in economics, we have several specializations like corporate economics, business economics, quantitative economics, and many other such specializations. Then comes the psychology. The psychology is now used to several other courses like counseling psychology, child psychology, then criminology, etc. So this, depending upon the needs of the society, we design new courses with specialization on the particular area. So, what I would like to tell to the students is that it is not that a particular specialization is more important than the other. So the core courses, all these, the specializations are more or less same, and only about 25 to 30% of the courses are on the specialized subjects. So students can choose any of these courses and then later on specialize in any of the subjects within that broad discipline. Next comes to the commerce and management. In the commerce, we have in India, there are more than 20 specializations. And besides, we have the commerce program. All this undergraduate program in this part of the country are only 3 years, and postgraduate programs are for 2 years. Then next comes up the journalism. The journalism, once we offered only the journalism, and now we have the media science, visual communications, mass media, and electronic science. So all are related with the journalism, and depending upon the technological development and requirement of the society, new branches have been initiated, new branches have been created, and new programs have been offered to meet the society requirements. Then the challenges, what the challenges facing the country is that we have to introduce courses to meet the Industrial Revolution 4.0, which is going to be digital revolution. So this requires new jobs, new training, new skills, and so these jobs require data analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and other recent developments to suit the industry requirements. So some of the universities has already started to revamp their curriculum and introduce new courses, or the subjects in the existing courses. So next, my question is the question is that whether I can change the major or subject if I move from UG to PG. So the eligibility condition for most of the PG courses in social sciences is any degree. That means that at undergraduate level, if you would have had any undergraduate degree, but you can join in any other degree. That is, if you don't like the subject which you have studied, or you want to change your field of specialization, you can always join in the other program. Then in some of the universities, we are also offering 5-year integrated programs. So instead of a 3-year undergraduate program, 2-year postgraduate program, this integrated programs offers a comprehensive curriculum designing from first year to the last year. It has certain advantages as well as certain disadvantages. The advantage is that the curriculum is well integrated and it has a comprehensive learning. The disadvantage is that there is no exit option in some of the institutions. If there is no exit option, then students after 2 years, 3 years, they feel that if they feel that the course is not interesting and want to discontinue, they have to go without any degree or without any credit. But in many of the universities now changed the regulations and trying to introduce exit options. So students must know clearly that whether there is an exit option for this 5-year integrated program or not before choosing these courses. Then let me tell you some data on about the humanities and social sciences. 36% of the students enrolled in undergraduates are in one or the other degree programs of the humanities and social sciences. 14% of the students in commerce, and totally 50% of the students enrolled in this country are in the subjects of humanities, social sciences, and commerce. So this is the largest number of students enrollment in this country. Then only 15% of the students are enrolled in science and only 13.5% of the students in the engineering and technology. Then recently, the last few years, there is an increasing demand for the humanities and social science programs, including commerce and management. The enrollment is increasing at a rate of 7 to 10% in most of the universities and colleges. And in Madras University, we have created almost 5,000 to 7,000 seats, additional seats, in the last 3 years. So it shows that the student choice is shifting from engineering to the humanities and social sciences. So I would like to give one more fact or one more data about the students' enrollment in engineering programs. So in this country, there are 14 lakh seats in the engineering and technology, out of which only 10 lakh students joined last year. In Tamil Nadu, over 50% of the seats are vacant. Even the best university, like Jadavpur University, was unable to fill all sanctioned seats. In Odisha, 80% of the seats in engineering are vacant, and in West Bengal, 60% of the seats are vacant. So the students now feel that by undergoing this engineering course for 4 years, investing more than 10 lakhs, will be of not use if they don't get a proper employment or a placement of their desired career. So the cost and the large-scale unemployment makes the students to think about alternatives like courses in humanities and social sciences. Then Next question is then the choice of course within the humanities and social sciences, and also the choice of institution. So which course to choose and which institution to choose. So it depends upon the student's attitude. Any course you want to choose, you must like that course, you must have an interest, and you have the ability to pursue that course. Some of the courses require basic knowledge in mathematics or strong knowledge in mathematics. And in that case, if you don't have that, then better you can choose an alternative course in languages if you have language ability. Each one has certain abilities, and based on one's ability, one can choose the course to pursue at the undergraduate level. Then my request is that parents should not push their kids to the courses of their interest. It must be based on the student's interest. Then coming to choosing an institution, so it should be based on the academic standing of the institution. There are the students can use two criteria. One is that NAC grade, as Professor Balasubramanian has just now mentioned that SRM has A++, which is the highest grade. So there are several, the NAC, that is National Assessment and Accreditation Council, assess the universities and colleges and gives grade and scores. So the students can look at the NAC grade and choose the institution which has the highest grade. Then one more criteria is the NIRF, National Institution Ranking Framework, ranking of the universities and colleges. Then, so every year the Ministry of Human Resource Development publishes the NIRF ranking. So this is also an important criteria. One can use it to choose the college or institution. So both NAC grade and the NIRF ranking will give required reliable metrics for choosing the course or a degree program and the institution. So next I move on to say a few words about coping with the program and branching off to the other subject. So as I just mentioned that coping with the program depends upon your aptitude and interest in the subject. So if you have interest, you can study any course. Then if you are pushed into a particular program, then naturally, even the courses which you can easily do cannot be done. Then about branching off. So we have little flexibility at the undergraduate level, but unlike the American and European universities, we don't have full flexibility. So in the Western universities, the students can study for 1 year, 1.5 years. Then if he or she doesn't like that, then he can branch off to other subject by acquiring sufficient number of credits. So we have choice-based credit system, but it is not fully flexible credit system. But within that limited choice, you can choose courses which are interesting to you at the elective part. And my suggestion is that the private universities and deemed universities, then they can come up with a fully flexible choice-based credit system, like a cafeteria type approach. I think which will be of very useful for the students as well as the parents. So in the Institute of Distance Education at the University of Madras, then we have introduced the modular approach. Suppose that a student just joins and completes the first year, acquired about 16 to 20 credits, and wants to discontinue, then he can go with a certificate. And if the student discontinues at the second year, with acquiring 25 to 30 credits, then he can get a diploma. And if one completes the 3-year all credit, qualifies all the courses, and get the degree. And also we have introduced a lateral entry. That is, due to some reason, one cannot continue to pursue this program, but they come back after a couple of years and want to continue the same program. Then these credits will be taken into account, and the candidate can do the remaining courses and complete the required credits and get the degree. So this is one step forward in giving a flexibility, but that we introduced only in the distance education mode. Then the other thing which I would like to tell to the students and parents is that now UGC has come out with a flexible system in which students pursuing on full-time basis in one program can also do another program through online or distance education. So both the degrees can be used for employment. Earlier, this is not allowed. Even if they do a degree, that degree cannot be used for employment. So even part of the courses they can do through online, or certain courses which are useful for career opportunities, then they can do that. And based on that, they can go for or land on a desired employment. Then next, what are the skills the humanities and social science disciplines impart in the graduate, the undergraduate and postgraduate programs? We all know that courses in science and technology will provide technical skills, whereas the courses in humanities and social sciences help students to acquire skills in critical thinking, problem solving, communication, both oral and written, and so on. For a society, these skills are as important as that of engineering and technology. Social scientists are involved in guiding or solving many of the world's biggest issues, such as violence, crime, then alternative energy, cybersecurity, and to name a few. So even in the present circumstance, the COVID-19 is spreading widely in the society. Only medical professionals can suggest only the methods to handle the medicines to be used, administered, and treatment protocols. Whereas only social scientists like sociologists, economists, social workers can tell that why the inspection is spreading and how to curtail this. And they can study the behavior of the people, and based on that, they can give policy suggestions. So like that, if any social problem you look at it, the role of social scientist is very, very important. Then, lastly, just a few words about the career opportunities and placements for humanities and social science degree holders. Students must keep one thing in mind, that the placement is not depending upon the degree which they graduate. So it depends upon the skills they acquire in that particular discipline. That is, the ability to solve critical problems, out-of-box thinking, communication skills, and of course, the domain knowledge. These are the important skills the industry is looking for. So then it can come from any graduate, from graduates from technical or graduates from the social sciences also. So students must focus more on improving their skills on these areas. Then generally, the students of the humanities and social sciences, they spend most of their time to prepare for the civil service examinations. In fact, most of these
So, okay, I think there is a technical problem. Is everybody else able to hear him?
No, I can't.
Okay. Shall we just take this 1 minute to maybe do a poll with the audience, since a lot of them seem to be having questions? Audience members, we have a small poll for you. So this is just something we thought we'd do after every speaker's session. I'm sorry we've lost Dr. Doraisamy, but I'm sure he'll come back in soon. So yes, please answer this and we will show you the results soon. We will have the results in a minute. Can I request you all to take the poll, please? Thank you. Can we have the results of the poll? Excellent. Thank you, everyone. That is indeed the answer: human society and culture. Not the design of engines or of large structures or the working of the solar system, although those are also equally interesting domains for all of you to go into. Okay, since Dr. Doraisamy is not in the picture right now, I think we will just move on to our next speaker, and whatever Dr. Doraisamy has left out, we can perhaps address it in the question and answer session. So thank you, Dr. Doraisamy. Now I invite Dr. Sridhar Krishnaswamy to address the audience. Thank you, sir.
Hi. Hi, you're able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Good afternoon and welcome to this webinar. It's indeed a delight to be here with you all. In fact, when I signed down to this, to this webinar, I, like many of us who always have afterthoughts, I thought maybe the topic could have been a little different. Instead of the challenges of humanities and social science in a changing academic environment, I thought the topic could have been challenges to humanities and social sciences in a changing academic environment. Now, let me put it to you why I think like that. Every year around this time, we go through the same process. Whether you're a parent or a teacher, we go through the process of what to do now. Now that I have finished +2, am I getting into engineering stream or medical sciences, social sciences, humanities, or just pure sciences? What if I haven't made the cut in engineering? Where else do I fit? And around this time, you will also find the media getting into the action. They will tell you which are all the courses that are the in thing, which is the exotic thing today. And they will add a little more color to it. Don't forget, I was in the media business myself for about 30 years, so I know what we do. And, but look at it this way. Now, let me tell you a little secret. I was just like one of you all sitting in the audience. My background is natural science, physics, chemistry. Okay, I didn't get into medicine. So my father said, let's try English literature. And then I couldn't get a seat in English literature because all the seats were filled. And then he said, political science. I said, wonderful. So I went into political science, stayed with political science. And then when I went to the United States for further studies, I branched off into international relations and international law. And then I thought I was going to get a job as a researcher somewhere. No, I didn't. I stumbled into journalism where I stayed for 30 years and I loved it. Even now, after being at SRM for 11 years, I still miss being a journalist. Now, why am I telling you this? Because we all are confused. So if parents and students today are confused, I would only say, welcome to the club. And you're meeting the chairman of the club, that is me, right? Now, what is it that the humanities and social sciences has to offer? Basically, we do the entire spectrum. I'm talking about SRM, Institute of Science and Technology. I'm talking about the faculty in which we specialize in social sciences and humanities. But don't forget, as Dr. Balasubramanian and Professor Duraiswamy before me said, the entire field has gone for a big change. When I was studying, or when your fathers and mothers were studying, social sciences used to be very clear-cut. You had economics, politics, history, psychology, philosophy. That is it. You had a major and you had something called ancillary, or what we today fashionably call minor. Okay. Now, the first rule of the thumb then, and even today, is that you have to choose a field in which you're going to get a job, right? After all, we don't want to study and then sit at home, because not many of us are inherently rich, right? We have to go out, we have to pound the pavement and make an honest living. Now that is the challenge that will always stay with us. Now, what is a unique second challenge that we face in social sciences and humanities? This academic environment that we are now talking about, that is in the 2000 beyond, 2020, this academic environment has become highly specialized. It has become, fractured. Now, Dr. Duraiswamy and Dr. Balasubramanian, I'm sure Dr. Matangi will also tell you that, we don't go around taking degrees in a BA economics or MA economics or PhD in economics. We do development economics. We do international economics. We do econometrics. The same thing in political science. We don't do political science anymore. We do different aspects of political science. So what I'm trying to tell you is that no matter which field in social sciences and the humanities that you're going to choose today, you have to be prepared for a little more for the long haul. What I'm trying to tell you is that when you get into your BA, any course for that matter, in SRM, we offer a range of courses. Just go to our website, or maybe during the question and answer, I will tell you what all we offer in social sciences and humanities. You have to be prepared for the long haul, because that is what the job market is demanding today. The third thing that you have to keep in mind when you sign up for a course, or when you think, is that you have to have two things with you. You have to have adaptability and you have to have flexibility. Now, what do I mean by that? When you chase your dream, or when you chase your passion, you will always find that these little boxes always do not add up. There will always be some opportunity for you to go beyond the box. See, in the United States, for example, and I'm sure Dr. Doraiswamy and the Balasubramaniam, they have all been exposed to the American and the European systems. When somebody gets in to a course, say for example, BA, they don't even have to declare their major till their final year. They can be undecided till the senior year, and then they will decide. Whereas here, we don't have that option. Right when you fill in the form, you have to say whether I'm going for BA Economics, Sociology, Psychology, Philosophy, Political Science, English, Fashion Designing, whatever it is. And there, if you take a BA degree, 120 hours, you have to have 30 hours of non-arts and science courses. Meaning what? You have to have a knowledge or a basic exposure to a discipline that is not your own. Now, that is exactly what academics is coming to now. I'm in journalism for the last decade or more. At one time, when SRM started journalism, our first batch had 4 students, just 4 BA. Today, we have about 230 students in a span of about 10 years. Now, what is it that we offer? At one time, journalism was only print media. Today, the spread is so vast, it's not even funny. We have print media, and then we have broadcast media, radio, TV. We have digital, we have online, we have citizen journalism, and something most fashionable today is called Mojo, mobile journalism. See, that is the influence of your globalization and revolutions in information technologies. Now, so that is one part. Now, let me go to the other part. Sorry. What are the challenges to humanities and social sciences in a changing academic environment? And here, everybody can, just about immediately say what the challenge. We only have one challenge today, and that is the coronavirus. In a span of about 6 months, this virus or this pandemic has wreaked havoc in every sphere of life, including academics. I was just reading a World Bank report, just the other day, a few days back, and they are saying that in about 180 countries, more than 1 billion children, 1 billion children in more than 180 countries simply do not know what is going to happen to their educational future. Why? The pandemic has put a brake on school education, college education, university education, and in general, higher education. Today, we don't know when colleges are going to reopen. We don't know if they reopen, in what mode we are going to get into. See, this is the challenge, this is the challenge. This is the challenge that social science and humanities will address, can address. Now, we all talk about online education. Online education. That is the fashionable word today. Online. Everything is, we are doing our webinar online, right? Everything comes down to internet. Now, in a country like India, it's not that easy to run online courses because only about 50% of our kids have got laptops. Now, you can have a laptop, but you may not have a video cam. You can have a laptop and a video cam, you may not have power. You can have laptop, video cam, and power, you may not have money for a data card. So what is it that we are trying to do here? So we are trying to adjust our educational system to the best we can. Now, we have to beat the challenge. And social sciences and humanities teaches you, journalism teaches you. For example, today you open any newspaper, turn on to any TV station, all that you are hearing, 16 pages out of every newspaper, maybe about 14 or 15 pages are devoted to coronavirus, nothing else. Even sports, coronavirus, right? The tennis ace, Djokovic, he's down or he's gotten out. That's all you hear, right? TV, same thing. Online, same thing. They give you numbers, right? They give you numbers. So go down, go on up. Gone up, come down. So many died, so many infected. That's all we hear. But still, journalism is a must because we have to know the news. English literature teaches you the choice of words, how best you can say the worst things in a dignified manner, right? And then you have psychology, right? We have to get used to this environment. A lot of people are mentally disturbed by what is happening. And then we have psychologists who tell us how not to get disturbed. So whatever it is, even in the worst of times, social sciences and humanities show us the way. And at SRM, we do have a very vibrant social sciences and humanities program. And you're most welcome to ask me questions. You're most welcome to go to our website. And I would want you to look at what we have to offer seriously, because I think there is a plethora of courses that you'll all be interested in. Thank you very much. It's a wonderful being in this webinar, and I'll be happy to take your questions later. Bye.
Thank you so much, sir. So before we go on to Dr. Matangi, we will have our second poll. Everyone, please participate and please do take the poll. We will have the results in about 30 seconds. Well, there's no wrong answer here, really. So it's true that it provides you with all these skills, but all of the above is the answer that we were looking for. Thank you so much for taking this poll, everyone. So next we move on to Dr. Matangi. Dr. Matangi, I invite you to address the audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Radhika. Thank you all. And thank you everybody else for being here. I've been following all your questions with a lot of interest. So since being the last speaker, I can get a sense of exactly the things that the audience is interested in. But I must add that it's a bit of a tall order to follow Professor Doraisamy and Professor Krishnaswamy, because in many ways they've addressed so many things with their vast years of experience. So I've decided that my only job on this panel is to perhaps entertain you. So one of the things I want to start by telling you is that as I was noticing this webinar progressing, even before the first speaker finished speaking, there were some 77 questions. So let me start by saying, why don't we all pause, take a few deep breaths, sit back, enjoy the webinar, not worry for a few minutes about whether you're going to get a certificate, what your career prospects are, how much money you're going to make, and maybe just give me about 10 minutes of your life to just listen. Because this is something that I think the social sciences and humanities has on offer for all of us that we could do well to learn, which is just to pause a little, to breathe and to listen, and then have a conversation based on the things that we might have common interests about. So let me invite you to a conversation and tell you the little bit that I know about the humanities and social sciences. So by profession, as those of you who were there for the initial part of this webinar might have garnered, I'm an anthropologist. I study society and culture. And I came to this profession rather late in life. So when I was in my 12th standard, and I liked reading and writing, like I suppose a lot of you do, my father suggested that I do English literature. And of course, because it was the 90s and I really wanted to make money, I said, no way, I want economics, I want to make money, I'm going to do an MBA, and that's how I'm getting by in the world. So my questions were the same as yours. How much money am I going to make? What career will I have? How soon can I be financially independent? And about 15 years down the line, lo and behold, I'm an anthropologist, and I realized that this entire sort of obsession with making money is not wrong. By no means is it a problem to want to be financially independent, but it must also dovetail with doing things that you really love and like, because life is very long. In the process of making money, you also have to stay interested in all of the activities that make up work. So let me give you a brief introduction into the broad kind of field that are the humanities and social sciences, and more importantly, those who do the humanities and social sciences, what are the questions they're interested in? So all the panelists approach these questions from different fields, but these are the same sets of questions that we are interested in. So without further ado, bear with me a few minutes as I take you through a presentation. All right. Let me start by going through a very basic definition. What are the social sciences? The branch of science devoted to the study of societies and the relationships among individuals within those societies, which means we are interested in the individual. We're also interested in how individuals relate to one another. The humanities are academic disciplines that study aspects of human society and culture. So as you can tell, there are considerable sets of overlaps between what we call the social sciences and what we call the humanities, and many disciplines are cross-disciplinary. They are social sciences as well as the humanities, such as anthropology, which is considered a humanistic discipline in its kind of focus on writing, as well as a social science because of its focus on collecting data from individuals through which we make those kinds of assertions. Archaeology, history, linguistics and language, philosophy, religion, performing arts, visual arts, And all of this can be encapsulated in this quote that I picked up from a report of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, which I thought was quite lovely. It says, the humanities, including the study of languages, literature, history, jurisprudence, philosophy, comparative religion, ethics, and the arts, are disciplines of memory and imagination, telling us where we have been and helping us envision where we are going. And this sort of relates so well to what you've heard from the earlier speakers so far, the idea that the current moment really needs us to remember where we came from and try and imagine where we could go. The social sciences similarly also have anthropology, sociology, communication studies, economics, education, geography, law, history, gender studies, psychology, development studies, media studies, business and management, political science, international relations. So what you might have been able to understand so far is that we are involved in the business of people. This is a people-specific profession, and therefore it's important that we stay interested and open-minded in this question of understanding life vis-a-vis people. So then what is the challenge of the humanities and social sciences? And a large number of questions that I saw already spoke to this. The idea that the humanities and social sciences are somehow not as good as the sciences, or on the hierarchy are lower, or will end up earning you lower amounts of money, as encapsulated by something like this. For those who are familiar with the Big Bang Theory, here's Sheldon for you. Love is in the air. Wrong. Nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide. Now, let me state here that this is a false dichotomy. It seems to indicate that facts and empiricism of this kind of order are far more important than the business of feelings and how people relate to one another and relationships. Whereas if you see the current situation, it's mainly led by how people are able to relate to one another. And here's another one. As you can tell from the amount I've been talking, social science is just like normal science, only more talkative. Then let me also suggest to you that the social sciences are about giving you the necessary skills to involve yourself in vast amounts of knowledge such that you become better interpreters of reality, of real life, of everyday life. Let me give you an example. Look at something like this, which is one of my favorite memes that says, watch what I can make Pavlov do. As soon as I drool, he'll smile and write in his little book. Now, for those familiar, this refers to the Pavlovian experiments, and maybe we can talk in the discussion about what you make of this. But to me, this is a really smart analysis of trying to understand dogs as equal participants in the project of life. Something like this, which is a very sharp, very dry kind of commentary on the fact of Facebook and friendships and how friendships have changed in a virtual economy, and the question of whether these friendships are real or not, what they do to individual psyches, and the ways in which they affect our understanding of self and life. And lastly, this is a bit more complicated. Try this for size. Schrodinger's immigrant simultaneously stealing your job and too lazy to work. Now, this is a really sharp, sarcastic take on the phenomenon called Schrodinger's cat. And for those who are interested, go look it up, then see if you're able to make sense of it. So this is my sort of argument for saying that the social sciences and humanities teach you how to get through the long project of life, being better critical interpreters of things happening around you. They teach you to be awake, to wake up, and therefore to that extent, the choice of which of the social sciences and humanities you want to pursue must also be led by a spirit of experimentation, a spirit of openness, trying to see what works for you, and what is it that you can afford to spend time finding out. And just as a last note, to give you further examples of how we are surrounded by the social sciences and humanities, let me give you evidence from something that I imagine is very familiar to all of you in the time of lockdown. Sitting around looking at memes and funny. No any psychology jokes? I'm afraid not. The social sciences and humanities are also extremely funny. They teach you not to always take life so seriously and to be able to see variety and imagination everywhere. They also tell you that what you see is not necessarily what you get. Look, for example, at this. Downey Jr. asking, what's a queen without her king? And the answer is, well, historically better. What's Juliet without Romeo? Alive. Lastly, let me run a little test by you to see what kind of social sciences and humanities you see in these popular Netflix OTT shows. Game of Thrones, for example, for all of you that think that this is a riveting, addictive tale, is also about what people in English literature and German romantic literature call the Bildungsroman, the narrative arc of the development of a hero's life, in this case, a heroine. It's also about political philosophy. What sort of ruler gets to survive? What is the historical narrative of how kings thrive in the world? It's about myth. The myth of the Dothraki, the myth of the Three Kingdoms, the ways in which other writers have also written about it, right from Lord of the Rings to Harry Potter. And it's about language and language systems. How is it that we understand how languages are constructed, how to move between languages, and how knowing different languages gives you the facility for power. Anybody been following Dark? Season 3 just came out on the 27th. And this is about something very dear to anthropology and sociology called time-space compression, which is not just a form of theory employed by the sciences. It's also about environmental studies and nuclear hazards. And lastly, for those interested, this is The Handmaid's Tale, adapted from Margaret Atwood's novel, which is all about gender studies and second wave feminism in trying to understand how reproductive capacities for women are also related to how society deals with gender. Across all of these are concepts of sociology and anthropology. So this is just a little sort of introduction to the variety of the social sciences and humanities. And of course, the challenges are, how do you take something like this and make a profession out of it? So the most obvious answer is the profession that I'm engaged in, which is that of education and teaching and scholarly work or research. The opportunities for those are many. However, I will also add here the little bit of data that increasingly sociologists, anthropologists are also employed by many companies such as Motorola, Nokia, Google, in order to try and understand and design user experience and people's experiences. So the primary method of anthropology, which is something called ethnographic research methods, have become very popular for market research companies. So market research, branding, consulting, they also find space over there. However, as other speakers have informed you, it's important that you do your research and look at where you're located, which are the colleges you want to check out to see what are the courses they offer, who are the faculty at these colleges, what are their specializations, do they speak to the things that you are interested in. So for example, one of the questions on the chat window was, is biomedical engineering a good thing? Now, unfortunately, none of the speakers on this panel have the expertise to answer that question. Perhaps Professor Krishnaswamy, because of the natural sciences, but in our current professions, that's not something we can offer you any expertise on. So what the social sciences and humanities education needs is also for you to do your research. But beyond that, what I will suggest and venture is that this is an education that will never fail you. I teach in a 5-year degree program at IIT in the Department of Social Sciences and Humanities. I offer elective courses also to those doing engineering. And I can tell you that uniformly, even those pursuing a traditional IIT engineering education find tremendous value in trying to understand how they are located vis-a-vis everyday life, vis-a-vis the world, both in terms of a general knowledge and a critical knowledge of how is it that you want to choose to live your life. I will stop there. This is all I have to offer today, and I look forward to discussion and questions.
Thank you, Dr. Matangi. That was really interesting. And thank you for all the slides and for having pop culture as a part of your presentation. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have our third and last poll for the day. Hopefully this is an easy one. Everyone, please take the poll. Thank you for taking the poll. We will just give you the results now in a minute. And okay, psychology, political science, and media studies are very much a part of the humanities and social sciences. It is artificial intelligence, which is not. I hope the ones who got it wrong, the only excuse for this is that you just entered this discussion very late and you missed out on what all our panelists spoke about. So before we move on, you've all asked some extremely interesting questions. The participants, I'm speaking to you, you've all asked some very, very interesting questions. But before we just move on to your questions, and we've selected quite a few of them, I just want to ask our panelists one or two questions, which will just take about 10 minutes. Firstly, this is a question that actually all of you have sort of briefly touched upon in your talk. This particularly, we're living in unprecedented times. Dr. Sridhar Krishnaswamy, you especially spoke about it, about how the COVID pandemic is affecting academia itself as well as education. Now, even in normal times, we have an implicit hierarchy in disciplines, with science accorded the most importance, followed by commerce and humanities. Even schools, unfortunately, still sort of have this mindset. So at a time like this specifically, I'd like each of you to explain to the audience how the degree that you studied especially helps at a time like this. So Dr. Duresamy, for instance, you are an economist. So right now, the global economy is doing badly. India's economy is doing badly. So how badly do we need economists? How badly do we need data? And why is it important for students to pick economics? Dr. Sridhar Krishnaswamy, you have studied everything. You have been in the natural sciences, but you also hold a PhD. You also hold a PhD in political science. We have a few instances now of authoritarian governments around the world, such as in Hungary, for instance, taking this opportunity to change the constitution and to destroy democracy and to change the manner in which an entire political system is working. So how important is, say, a career in political science? And of course, about journalism, because journalism faces a lot of threats today, whether it's freedom of the press, but I think a larger threat is just the fact that we have another pandemic that's going on, which is the problem of fake news. So, in what way is journalism important? And Dr. Matangi, you already spoke about this, but also tell us why, especially the study of anthropology is so important at this particular moment, because we are seeing, a little bit about, like the movement of migrant workers. You talk about marginalization, and you speak of how you see how this pandemic has exposed inequalities like never before. So what happens to those kind of societies, and why is it important to study them? So if each of you could just sort of speak a couple of, and importantly, Dr. Balasubramanian, if you're there, since you have been in policy, and you have been in public policy and governments as well as public administration. These are very important fields to be in right now, to be in governance, and drafting policy is the challenge of the day. So if each of you could just speak for 5 minutes, I thought it would be interesting for the students, because all of you come from very different backgrounds, but within the social sciences, and each of these is important for us today. So we can start with Dr. Doraisamy.
Thank you so much. Actually, the current controversy is that the trade-off is that lives versus livelihood. Actually, economists have been estimating that how much the economy is contracting, and how to revive these economies. So different countries are following different strategies. So we have to take a decision that we open up the economy, then the pandemic will further spread, and it will have large implications on the health sector. And at the same time, if we continue to the lockdown, then naturally the life of the economy, the economic conditions of the large number of people will be affected. So the economists are helping to revive the economy with various measures. We know that the finance minister, the Honorable Nirmala Sitharaman, has also come out with several measures to revive the economy. Most of these have been designed by the economist. So under this present circumstance, economists have a key role to play and to revive the economy. Thank you.
Dr. Sridhar Krishnaswamy?
Yeah, you asked me to comment on two things.
Yes.
One is how relevant is political science for what is happening today?
Yes.
And also the relevance of journalism.
Yes.
Yeah, political science is always relevant, because here, and you gave the example of Hungary. I'm surprised you went to Hungary when your best example would have been the United States under President Trump.
Right. There are several examples, sir, but because the constitution was changed, I thought that was an obvious.
No, constitution was changed. Here he's changing the system without even changing the constitution.
Absolutely.
So he's a bigger, genius than you can, find. We are talking about governance, okay? And Dr. Balasubramanian has done governance for close to about four and a half decades. Here we are talking somebody who's pretending that the COVID is not even there, right? So what do you do? How do you govern a system in which the head of the institution pretends that there is nothing called COVID, there's nothing called coronavirus, right? That's number one. Number two, journalism. Yes, fake news. You're absolutely right. I think one of the worst inventions these days has been the revolutions we are having in information technology. Your cell phone, right? Within a nanosecond, you're having zillions of information, which is not really information. It is misinformation and disinformation. And here you have a country like North Korea that is saying, I'm the only country who does not have the coronavirus. Now, are you going to believe him? But he has made his people believe that he doesn't have the virus at all. So basically, we are talking about social science subjects, what Dr. Doraiswamy and Dr. Matangi and Dr. Balasubramanian is saying, that are highly relevant. These subjects will never be irrelevant, for the simple reason that social sciences deal with society. in the end, whatever you are, it all depends as to what you mean to the society, or what is your contribution to the society. That's the reason why, as a part of our academics at SRM, we make sure that every social science, every humanities subject always has that societal bearing. That is highly important. Even journalism. People scold journalists today. They don't. And let's put it this way. I'm not in the cheerleading business. I'm not here so that 10 people will clap to whatever I write. If you don't like me, good. I want you to dislike me. Okay. But I will put out the truth. Okay. That is the thing. But how many of us are doing it? So that is why in journalism and in Wiscom and in every social science humanities, and Dr. Matangi will agree with me, we teach something called ethics, ethics of learning. Today we have software to check whether your PhD is your own work or somebody else's work. We have to put it in through, turn it in, and that will tell you from where you copied, how much you copied. Or what you didn't do, which is very good. So here we have whatever we do, every course. This is where I like social science. I'm a natural science fellow, but I don't even remember any bit of chemistry or physics or biology that I studied. I won't tell you when I studied it, but it's been that long. But here we are talking about the relevance. I don't think social science will ever be irrelevant, ever. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Balasubramaniam, with your vast experience in public policy and governance.
What's your question?
How particularly important are these subjects during the COVID pandemic? Is policy making and governance?
Definitely from
For all the
24/7.
students.
Yeah. Because public policy, even you look, take for example, Tamil Nadu, you take the public policy deciders, they only give direction to medical people. They only give direction to the people who are in the field, everything. And they are only deciding about the procurement of equipments, everything. The medical experts, they are telling what is needed and all that. They are only predicting and diagnosing and all that. Then public policy should be, see, for example, this coronavirus, this pandemic should go away. And definitely, the containment zones, the police enforcement, law and order, educating the public. And at the same time, if you can make more containment and all that, how about, more than 80% of the people, they are living in a level where they are living on day-to-day earnings. So the government has to support that. Because, we are not in a country that everybody is just have money, lakhs and lakhs in the bank and swipe the card and just go to any online Amazon or anything like that, big boss, basket, everything and get everything. Because everybody, see, for example, even in the pandemic situation, if the ration shops are open, you can see the queue because the people demand, need everything. For everything, good governance is important. And a good policy making is very, very important. For example, that government of Tamil Nadu also recently, constituted a committee headed by our former governor of Reserve Bank, former governor of Andhra Rangarajan, I think, in which our beloved colleague, Dr. Zorsami, is also a member. That they want to set right the economic status. That is also public policy. That if economic status is good, the per capita income will go up. And everybody, even for example, from astrologer to the scientist, they are now telling that concentrate in agriculture sector. If agriculture sector is not taken care, even in this situation, then who will take care of that? It's a policy. Then government has to give everything. Simply, you can't ask the farmer just, produce rice or wheat or vegetable or anything like that. He has to be supported for all businesses. So the more important thing is everything is in just, that finally it will end up with only policy matters. So that's why, I told in previously, we were teaching about general public administration, government and all that. Now public policy plays a very vital and important role. Public policy is good. That should be, promote good governance, and good governance will always make enrichment of the better economic status, a better living, and all these things and all. These are all that only social science can provide this, not any
Right.
other thing.
Yes, thank you, sir. And Dr. Matangi, before you answer this, I have an extra question for you, but this is from one of our participants. So, who wants to know what is the future of anthropology in India? So, if you could take both questions at the same time.
Thank you, Radhika. And just to sort of, continue in the vein that the other panelists have spoken about in relation to the pandemic, I wrote about this a couple of weeks ago, which is that I think the pandemic in many ways is what people in anthropology would call a trickster figure. It takes the fault lines of society and deepens them so much that you have no option but to take a look at it. So one of the ways to really think about it in relation to the many things that we've spoken about, a leader who denies there is even a pandemic, forms of authoritarianism that increase at a time like this in the name of public health safety. Questions like what happens to people that do not have homes in the time of a lockdown? Normally invisible populations like migrants who have never had homes, suddenly you see them trooping down the streets, heading back home thousands of kilometers away, because when there was no pandemic, nobody ever paid attention to them and to the fact that the houses we live in are built by these migrants. So anthropology to me has always been at the heart of these questions. It depends on when we can afford to turn our attention to this. So if we think of the pandemic, in the words of the philosopher Marcel Mauss, as a total social fact that exposes all of these things to our attention, something as minor as gender relations in society. And many have written about this, that during the lockdown, instances of domestic abuse have increased, instances of child abuse have increased, because suddenly everybody is locked in. Mental health issues have increased. So we are turning our attention to these in a very selective fashion in everyday life. In a pandemic, we have no choice. Something like anthropology tells you that our current way of life is not sustainable. It's not been sustainable for a very long time. And it's time we stopped focusing all of our administrative and monetary attention to cities and started thinking about redistribution. And something that, everybody's talking about now, and the stellar work of people like P. Sainath and the People's Archive of Rural India illuminates that there are lives besides those of people in cities that are worth paying attention to on their own. So anthropology to me is a deeply ethical discipline informed by constant attention to people's lives as they are lived, as opposed to how we think they should be lived. So, and as far as the future of anthropology is concerned, now in India, it's kind of interesting, where since post-coloniality of a certain order, we continued with the division of anthropology is the study of tribes and rural people and the rural, quote unquote, savage other, as opposed to sociology, which studies contemporary institutions and cities. Now, anthropology itself over the past years, since the 60s, has been subject to its own critique that says the very idea of labeling somebody as barbaric or savage or other or less developed is a problem of colonialism. Now, anthropology is far more interested in examining the current moment as formed by both post-coloniality as well as modernity. So to me, it's a very dynamic, thriving discipline, which, however, in many places continues to be taught in the older mode. So this is something that people have to pay attention to as to where is it that they want to study anthropology. But the theory in anthropology is taught in media studies, cultural studies, anthropology, sociology, critical theory, across the social sciences and humanities. So I'm not attached to anthropology per se, as much as the questions of anthropology and its method, which I would encourage people to look for.
Thank you.
Can I just say,
of course,
yes, just 30 seconds,
Yeah, of course. No, we have time, so please.
One of the things that at SRM that we do, for example, in the Department of in journalism, is that one of the courses or even a couple of courses we do, or maybe 3. We talk about understanding the world. We talk about cultures. We talk about civilizations. This is what Dr. Matangi was talking about. Because basically, our students have to know where we come from. We have to know where we come from. If you want to know why Samuel Huntington's book, The Class of Civilizations, is important, you have to know what civilizations are to begin with. And I mean, you don't have to be an esoteric, political scientist or a social scientist or a social anthropologist or whatever to know or to find out what exactly are our roots. And this is what contemporary social science, humanities should do academically. And at some institutions, we do it. I'm sure IIT, in the field of discipline of humanities, I'm sure people like Dr. Matangi pay a lot of attention to it. At SRM, we pay a lot of attention to it. We make sure that students know about different cultures. We teach international relations as an elective, basically world history. Okay, we teach about Indian political system. We teach about foreign political systems because, as you said some time back about Hungary, people have to know where Hungary came from. Okay? So I don't think even Hungarians would know today, where they came from. Or anyway, that's the thing. That's my 2 seconds.
Sure. So yeah.
What Dr. Matangi had to say.
This is to all the panelists. So although no one here is a psychologist, I find that a lot of these questions are about psychology, which is of course a very important discipline today, given that we're all under lockdown, and I'm sure a lot of people also have mental health issues, and this is what they call a silent epidemic, where we don't really know how to address this. Some people have asked why certain institutions in the country which provide humanities and social sciences as an option don't include psychology as a part of it. And they also, some of them have expressed their keenness to take up the discipline and also want to know how it's going to help them and what kind of career opportunities they have in the future. Anybody can take up this question, so. Dr. Balasubramaniam, would you like to address this?
Yeah, Dr. Ratika, you are right, because it's a good question. Even SRM also, for example, with our own experience, Dr. Krishnamurti knows about it. Till about last year, we had a lot of problems, emotional problems, all these things among students, faculty, and all that. Then we thought that that is the only way. What is the only way to just rectify that? Immediately, we appointed a clinical psychologist who is a PhD holder and all that. The moment when she just joined us as a full-time psychologist, counselor, and so on, you know that drastically 80% of that issues among faculty, students, everything is now vanished. And more students are getting better, that academic benefits out of that. Parents are also very happy. So what we have decided this year, we are planning to introduce psychology, not only for social science or science and humanities students alone. That is open to all. I think last week I discussed with our Pro-Chancellor academic, and he has also agreed that this is a open elective or optional, whatever it is and all that. And people should understand, human behavior, mankind, and all that, that unless they understand what they are, how they should behave, because nowadays, see, some people say due to the fact of, intake of food or anything like that and all that, but I have no faith in that. But only thing is the emotional changes and behavior and all that, particularly the behaviorism should be a subject that where it should be taught. and we have decided to introduce that, and psychology is going to play a very important role in SRM curriculum. And not only it is open to all, of course, it is being, and we are going to have it with us from the Faculty of Science and Humanities, and we are planning to appoint already one person is there, another 1 or 2 persons and all that. So they will do counseling as well as course also. This is a very another thing that I want to add here, because what you said is 100% true. Without convincing people, without telling what is right, what is wrong, and all that, the society will never change.
Okay, sir. And how about career opportunities in psychology, since 2 people have asked about that?
No, career opportunities, just we are planning to start with degree level and all that. I think now, if you, even in that, Dr. Sami has rightly pointed, previously it was only BA psychology. Now there are so many branches, and even clinical psychology, counseling psychology, behavioral psychology, so applied psychology, so many things and all that. So we are going to branch out, and we will ask people to, because lot of demand for counselors now. Even schools, they want to appoint. Suppose you a girl or a boy with a BSc psychology, with a kind of, the training, he or she will be appointed in school as a counselor. Because nowadays counseling is done by history, economics, and science teachers and all that. So their approaches are really different. So we are planning like that, and I think that the job opportunity is definitely very much. Apart from general, suppose if a person is really good, that how much psychology counselors are, especially in the US and all that, the demand for counselor getting an appointment is very difficult. And even India also, there are top post psychologists in Chennai and all that, and
Right.
very difficult to get appointed. So definitely the prospect and the future and employment opportunities really good. And one thing I like to say here, because we take much care about the placements for all subjects. I think now in our science and humanities, around 90 to 97% we get placement for all those who are joining and completing their courses.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Dr. Duresami, perhaps you could take this question. There is one person who has asked whether it's advisable to pursue a dual specialization at the undergraduate level. So, some colleges offer a dual degree in sociology and development studies, or in economics and literature. So some student wants to know whether that is a better option or whether it's better to just pursue one subject.
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, at the undergraduate level, we need not go deep into the specializations, because at the level they must acquire the basic knowledge of the subject, and that will be very helpful when they go for the masters and further for research. Then, if some of the students are interested, they can take another subject through distance education or online education. Double major. I think this is very difficult at the undergraduate level. Means that they cannot gain required knowledge in that particular subject. So in some of the states, still they are following, like in Andhra Pradesh, these are following triple major. Most of the undergraduate programs are triple major. But when they come for admission, they are finding it very difficult at the master's degree. Suppose they triple major, they take physics, chemistry, and biology, or computer science. Then when they apply for physics, their knowledge in physics is much less than that students who come from our university with a physics major. Similarly, the economics, sociology, or other triple major, so their knowledge in economics will be much lower than the students who are completing an undergraduate degree in economics. So I think it's better to have one major and some allied courses related to the major. And it is always possible to specialize at the master's degree level. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So one more question for you.
Yes.
So someone has asked, out of the various specializations in economics, which according to you is expected to gain importance in the future?
Yes, of course, certainly that economics is one of the important area which most of the countries require. When the COVID pandemic, then the economists are helping to revive the economy. The economics is actually in most of the Western countries, including US, economics is one of the sought after subject. The MIT, which is mainly a technical institution, which has more Nobel laureates than any other university. So if you look at that, the development of the countries, economists usually play a crucial role in the international organizations like World Bank, United Nations, UNIDO, and the IMF. Economists are playing a key role, and mostly economists are there.
So sorry, so the question wasn't so much about economics itself, but about the specializations within economics.
Yeah, within economics. Right. The undergraduate level, there is no need to have specializations. Maybe at the master's degree level, one can go for specializations.
Right.
What is required at the undergraduate level is good training in theory, like macroeconomic theories, then in mathematics and quantitative methods, like econometrics, statistics. So good training in these subjects will help anyone to do very well at the postgraduate level and research level.
Right.
So there is no need to specialize
to worry about
economics or anything.
Okay. Sridhar sir, so this is a question for you. Somebody has asked, what is the scope? How vast is the scope after graduating with a journalism degree?
You know, the sky is the limit for the person who asked. Okay. Now, many of these people who take who come for a BA or an MA in journalism, they seem to be under the impression that they can get only into media outlets. That is very wrong. Journalism graduates, BA, MA, PhD, whatever you call them, they are wanted everywhere. They are wanted in a lot of corporate houses, look for people to head their media divisions. Lot of public relations offices, they look for media people. Lot of advertising agencies, they look for media people. Show me one consulate or one embassy who does not have a media person. In fact, they have complete media wings. If you look at the American consulate here, which I am little familiar with, they have a media division, and I'm sure you also know about that, Radhika. They have a huge media thing.
Right.
And now they are either journalists of a middle level or a senior level standing, or some of them are right out of college and they are given the training. So you can get into anything. You can get into print journalism. You can get into broadcast journalism. You can get into radio, get into TV. You can do how many online sites. I myself am a regular contributor now to an English online site, which is becoming very, very popular, called the Federal.
Right.
So I write, every week I write a column for them. So it's just not, you are not fixated in just the print English, print or in a vernacular. You can do anything you want. Absolutely, seriously. I'm not. I have journalism students who are in all fields that I had just mentioned.
Right.
Including in embassies. They are in. I forgot to mention. I have my students who work for news agencies like Reuters, AP, AFP, PTI, UNI. Not UNI, ANI. They are there. So you can do anything. The sky is your limit, provided you study well, provided you are disciplined, provided you have a good head on your shoulders.
Right. Thank you, sir. Dr. Balasubramanian, sir, are you there? Okay,
no, you can ask the question. I'll try to answer it.
Okay, sure. So, yeah. So this question is, I find two people have asked it. They want to know why rank holders in the country generally choose the sciences over the humanities. So two people
Easily
have.
easily they can score marks. For example, mathematics and all that. And social science, I can also put the blame on my colleagues, my faculty members. Not now. Earlier days, that nobody gets 100 out of 100 from languages, 100
Yeah.
out of 100 from social sciences. The reason is they say that beyond 60 is 60 means first class. Okay, finish 60 to 65. Never. That's the thing. Even the first rank holder during my day, I got second rank in the University of Madras. That my score was only 68, 67, 9%. The first rank holder was only 73%. See this, but nowadays it is also little bit improving, and many people are getting higher ranks in that. But the stinginess of our teachers, but now it is drastically changed, and also the syllabi and the examination pattern and asking questions, everything. I think now we have made it drastically change. I think even in SRM, you can see that percentage of results in all disciplines, it is above 90%. And some of them gets even languages 98, 100% all.
So this is going to be a question from me related to this question. So I'd like to just touch upon the gender aspect. Do you think a lot more boys today also choose the social sciences and the humanities as compared to before? Are things changing?
No, not like that. Because, nowadays we could see that some classes, for example, fashion design, we have more girls. And even in biotechnology, more girls. And even in computer science and commerce, one or two sections, we have more girls and all that. We cannot simply say that whether only boys will choose this or girls will choose another. I think I can proudly say that every year Cognizant is giving a best student award. So far, only the girls have backed for the past 4 years. to your surprise. None of the boys have secured that. We have no regrets for that. But at the same time, that the girls, I think, whatever the subject you take, for example, I think that Sridhar can also endorse that. In all subjects, whether it's a journalism, whether it's a visual communication, whether it's a commerce, whether it's a computer science, whatever it is, I think girl students, I think overall percentage, the best performance, I think only mostly by the girl students, but boys are also excelling tremendously well now. I think we get more or less it's a slight, percentage between boys and girls, and competition is very high. In fashion design, you can see that about 10 boys have joined, and they are doing extremely well. First, we thought only girls will join in fashion design, but now boys are doing it, and they are winning prizes and all that. So that is a weak. Who will do what creativeness, we may not know. I think everything is, inbuilt with boys and girls. It depends how you shape them, how you promote them, how you guide them, how you support them. That's both from parent side and mostly 90% from the teacher side.
Does anybody else have a comment?
Yeah. In Madras University, we have more girls than boys at the PG and PhD level.
I told you yesterday.
I think I can also, Radhika, tell when I was doing my postgraduate degree in Prestigious College, I think there are about 14 girls and 11 boys. And out of 14 girls, three got into IAS and none of the boys.
Right. So that was actually, another thing that some of our participants have spoken about, how important is it to study the social sciences and humanities in order to write the civil services exam?
Yeah, that's right.
Can I earlier on the gender question for a second?
Yes, of course. Yeah, please.
Yeah.
I broadly agree with the other panelists in saying that increasingly you're seeing what I would call a gender correction in some ways. However, the question still remains in relation also to some very important questions asked by a lot of the attendees. Why is it that the social sciences and humanities still come lower on the hierarchy than, say, the sciences and engineering and medical sciences? And it's important to examine the gender difference over there. So overall, you will see more of a masculine bias in relation to that. There is internal hierarchy. And what we are looking at in educational fields is a symptom of a larger understanding of gender in society, and it reflects here. And I really appreciate the question asked by one of the attendees who says, do we have to do a university degree in social sciences and humanities? Can we look at it on our own? And I would say by all means, while here we are here to offer information on the social sciences and humanities, we will be the first to agree that a certified university degree is not the only way to get an education. And I personally would be very happy if people immerse themselves in the social sciences and humanities, even otherwise. Webinars like these, there are online classes, there are MOOCs everywhere, there are free lectures, YouTube videos. I think it's essential for us to try and understand, for example, that the gender question is never one of just purely numbers, although numbers is a beginning. At the beginning, we need to see whether we have equal representation in classroom. But something as simple as, in most places, are there adequate sanitary facilities for girl students? Is there a recognition of their particular physical health requirements in educational institutions? These are things that we as educators should also be able to provide to allow for an equal playing ground. So I think the gender question is a structural question. And within that, the relationship between the liberal arts to other sciences is a question through which we need to run gender as a way of understanding it. And I know that some panelists have asked the question about liberal arts degrees, which is increasingly becoming popular in India right now, but not to the extent as other places. So psychology, for example, is available in a lot of universities in India, maybe not in a liberal arts program. So I return to my earlier comment, which is do your research. And while doing research for where you would like to study, I would encourage people to actually get in touch with senior students. I think they are the ones that actually give you the right information of what a place is like, because a lot of us, we are, I love my institution. I will talk well about my institution, but I think students will give you a way of understanding what a place is like, what to look for, and whether it suits your particular interests or not. So I would heavily encourage people reaching out to their peers.
So since we're running out of time, I've just picked out one question which I thought each of you could answer because it's a very interesting question before we wrap up. So this is from someone who has asked, how has your own view on life changed after taking the courses that we're speaking about? How has studying the social sciences changed your view towards life? So Dr. Matangi, you could go first.
Should I bell the cat? Well, let me put it this way, that I underwent a complete drastic change in my professional aspirations from an MBA and working in a corporation. I was in brand management and advertising, to academia and anthropology. And to me, it has served my primary purpose in life, which is every year, I don't know who I was the year before. It allows me the possibility of constant, unending change in my orientation towards the world. And I think that has only been possible through a social sciences and humanities education. I think it's made my life richer, more informed, more present, and more empathetic in general in the ways in which I deal with the world and people.
Okay. Dr. Doraisamy?
Yeah, yes. Actually, I started my career with the science. The PUC level, I picked the natural science school and wanted to become a doctor or one of the professional degrees. But somehow I entered into economics. The undergraduate level, I couldn't understand much of economics because it requires a lot of maturity, understanding of the economy. So when I completed my bachelor's degree, naturally I took the master's degree. Then I started to like the subject. This only at the master's degree level, and I could appreciate what economics can teach and how economics is useful for the economy, for the country. And then I entered into research, then went to several universities. Then really come to know that what is all about economics, including I spent about 1.5 years at the World Bank and worked on education, mostly of economics of education. So my specialization is more on the economics of human resources, which includes education, health, labor markets, migration. So I like this subject as well as the area of research. So I can significantly contribute in this area. So I'm very happy to teach and also to do research than being an administrator. Thank you so much.
So Balasubramanian, sir?
I can totally endorse the views of those my previous speakers. Even in the early days, only the physical sciences, biological sciences gained importance, and only people joined in societies, economics, history, politics, and all that. Where they didn't get the seat and all that. Then later, commerce also emerged and all that. People brought up rush even today and all that. But you could see that if initially when I joined my undergraduate in BA Political Science, then I said that there is no future and all that. But I after that immediately I joined in MA. Then immediately I got a scholarship also, Fulbright in US and all that. And after that, my career till my retirement from Madras University, and now currently about more than 10 years in SRM University. I think I am so happy, and my contribution is also to my satisfaction. I think people should come forward to have courageousness and take, a pride that whether it's a BA Political Science, BA Economics, or BSc Chemistry and all that, it makes no difference and all that. So that kind of, now there is a paradigm shift for social science now. I think people have come forward to take, because the reason is, as pointed out by our previous speakers and all that, we have branched out the subject to various levels, and that is being helping nowadays. So I think that is my opinion about it.
Okay. Dr. Sridhar Krishnaswamy, along with this, I also have one more question from you from a student, and I addressed this particularly to you because you did touch upon this during your talk. So the student asks, what if a student who's studying business studies and economics in class 12, but has a simultaneous interest in political science? Can they choose a particular line of studies as a career path that involves both? So I think a lot of students are also keen to know if they're interested in 2 or 3 things, is it possible for them to choose a career path accordingly?
See, it's an excellent question. The thing is that you need 2 things. You need a dream and you need a passion. Okay, you have to chase your dream with a passion. Now, you may like many things: business studies, economics, political science, international relations, international law. You can go down the list. But what is it that is really, what is it that you want? Right. So you have, and at the class 12, I don't blame that student for not knowing. Okay.
Yes.
I don't blame him at all. I put myself at his age. I didn't know anything. All right. But once you choose something, there should be no looking back. For example, I never, look back and thought I should have been a doctor. And I don't brood over it. I'm thankful that I'm not, thinking of all the patients that may have to have come to me. Okay. So there's no looking back. But whatever it is, you have to chase it. You have to have a dream. You have to chase it with a passion. And one of the things that I learned in journalism that was very aptly taught by some of my seniors, including some of the proprietors of the Hindu, was that if you want to write, you have to have fire in the belly. Okay, otherwise don't write. Otherwise don't write. You have to feel. You have to put, if you're an editorial writer and you're writing about something, you have to put yourself in that position and see for yourself. So that is what, you see, that is why I like social science. It makes you think. It makes you analyze. it makes you look at alternatives that we normally, it makes you go back and see where you went wrong and take corrective measures. See, that is why I like social sciences. It makes a human being out of you.
Right, absolutely. So just before I wrap up, although I did want to wrap up with this question, I have one last question. This is for you, Dr. Matangi, because 5 people have asked this question, so I thought it was important to address it. They want to know what is the scope of anthropology as well as sociology?
Okay, so let me try and encapsulate that within one sort of thing. So if anthropology and sociology are looking at understanding societal institutions and phenomena, the scope broadly can be between academia and industry. So within academia, it's fairly simple. You go on to do research, you can go on to do a PhD with very, very particular research interests in mind, and that could be done either within the country or abroad, and there are scholarships available for both. And that's a fairly straightforward career path. The second, of course, is industry, where you can become part of market research. You can become part of consulting groups like BCG, PricewaterhouseCoopers, what have you. You can be part of think tanks. So you could advise for policy, for government, for governance. Essentially, you're forming the scaffolding of informative decision making. You're providing in-depth information so that people understand phenomena. You're providing expertise. And anthropology and sociology give you the tools to be able to do that. Now, of course, you're also free to fashion interdisciplinary careers. You could be writers, consultants, teachers, academics, public intellectuals, motivational speakers. And this is the wonderful thing about doing something like the humanities and social sciences. It gives you the imaginative potential to put together a patchwork career consisting of a multiplicity of possibilities. But reading, writing, talking to people stay at the heart of these.
Thank you so much. Our participants keep asking questions, and although I'd love to take more, I think we are running out of time here. So I'm just going to wrap up. Thank you so much for joining us today. I sincerely extend a heartfelt thank you to our panelists. Dr. Balasubramanian, thank you so much for that wonderful inaugural address. I mean, you've been in academia for close to 5 decades and at SRM for 15 years. You have a specialization in public administration, policy, and governance. So you bring very rich experience, which I'm sure was very useful for the students. Thank you for talking to us about the opportunities that are available at SRM. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Radhika. Thank you.
Dr. Doraisamy, thank you for speaking of the increasing demand for humanities and social sciences, especially at the UG level in recent years, which I'm sure is a very heartening fact for our students, and also for speaking about the career opportunities and the skills acquired through these programs. Thank you very much for giving us your time today. Dr. Sridhar Krishnaswamy, thank you for speaking about something very important about how academia itself is changing and about the challenges to the humanities and the social sciences. As a journalist myself, and because so many students have also asked about journalism, I'm happy too that you touched on the importance of that subject. Since you've straddled all these worlds of academia as well as journalism, and you've also studied the natural sciences, I think you have also addressed a wide variety of questions today, and thank you so much for that. Dr. Matangi, I really enjoyed the manner in which you took pop culture and used that in your presentation, and I'm sure students really enjoyed that too. Thank you for talking to us about how the humanities is present in every aspect of our lives, including even in memes, and for speaking to our students about sociology and anthropology and the various ways, the various careers that they could take, that they could choose if they studied these subjects. Overall, I think we've had a very distinguished panel of speakers, each with a lot of experience, but each also from a different discipline. I hope this was very interesting for our participants. Last but not the least, thank you very much, participants, for joining us today. You've asked us some excellent questions. I really hope we were able to do justice to them, that we were able to answer them. Thank you so much for using your Saturday afternoon to become a part of this. Thank you, SRM University. And yes, thank you again, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank you.
Radhika. Thank you for the wonderful moderation and your patience.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Engineering, Medical and Health Sciences, Management, Dental, Science and Humanities, Law, Agriculture Sciences, Hotel Management. Admissions open.